Mike's up.
15 new Cougs are in the class of 2020, and we are here in this early signing day period. Great to be with you. It'll be yours truly, along with the QB, Alex Brink. Jess will not be with us here today, and we will do our best in her wake as Jess is going to be back with us on Saturday for the football broadcast. But Brinker, we've got ourselves 15 new Cougs, maybe more to come, and a class right now that's right in the thick of the Pac-12 rankings, as those who try to grade such things will pontificate and add up how these guys are ranked and whatnot. But it's a class that went all around the country. You got 2 from Washington, 3 from California, 2 from Texas, Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, Georgia, Australia, and then a junior college wide receiver from Iowa who's a really highly ranked outside wide receiver. What jumps out to you when you watch film here?
You know, there's a couple different things. I think when you look at the class as a whole, I think, you know, this coaching staff, like you said, kind of flung the net far and wide, and it speaks to their relationships across the country. It speaks to where they've been, the stops they've made. I think that's a great thing. The Coug brand carries across the country. You know, I look at individual position groups, and I like to kind of see what was the focus. And the focus here was definitely on that defensive line, both edge rushers and interior defensive line. I think Washington State wanted to create some depth there. And then at receiver, we know all about, you know, a lot of the turnover on the receiver position. So you got receivers in this class aplenty, guys that can run. You talked about CJ Moore, who's the junior college transfer from Iowa Central, who started his career at Oklahoma State as a 4-star recruit. He leaves Oklahoma State, got some snaps as a redshirt freshman. He's a guy that, you know, if he goes to junior college and makes the transition back to the FBS Power 5, could be a real impact player. So you love having kind of a guy like that in the class, but there's a couple other receivers in this group. Josh Moore, a kid out of San Diego, Mater Dei High School, which is, you know, one of the best high schools in California. He's got to jump off the tape at me. Just a smooth inside receiver that can make a ton of plays. Love that. So I think overall, definitely some needs addressed. You also see where this Washington State staff, I think, feels like they had some position groups of strength. You know, offensive line, you only have a couple guys in this class because, you know, that offensive line room is so strong at Washington State right now. So that's kind of my overarching thing. I mean, there's definitely some guys I'm fired up to talk about. Chaz, you know, I'm a film nerd. I'm a junkie. You know, the coaches asked me to jump on and eval the tape, you know, for signing day. So I'm really excited about this.
I thought you were voiceover talent. I didn't know you were just an analytics guy.
That too. I mean, I got the you know, the golden pipes to go along with the football chops, as they say.
I love it. Josh Meredith is that wide receiver from San Diego. CJ Moore is the JUCO transfer, originally from Tulsa, Oklahoma. He transferred from Iowa Central Community College. Gavin Barthiel was a Georgia Tech commit, originally a linebacker from Valdosta, Georgia, and played some high school ball in Florida. 6'2", 210. He flipped, and he's now a Coug, and he's coming out west. There are a lot of Cougs from all around the country. What we're going to do is we're going to go through this list here. Brinker and I will kind of go through the initial commits who have come in here today. There are 15 of them, and then we'll take a break, and then we'll start to get into talking to the coaches who recruited them. We'll start with Jason Severko, our chief of staff here, who this is their Super Bowl. I mean, this is a huge part of what all the coaches do. And Brink, you and I always talk about, you know, it's a lot to deal with in a bowl season, which has been the last half decade. You know, coaches are going to bowls, they're out recruiting. But this year in particular, it's so bizarre. I mean, everything's bizarre. This is a game week. The Cougs are about to go to Salt Lake City and take on Utah. And now they've got to figure out how to get this class together while prepping for the game.
I can't imagine. I mean, it's one of the many things, right, this year that, you know, the staff is having to deal with. And normally we've had, you know, we're either in the middle of bowl practices, like, you know, or you got time off or the season's over for some, you know, for some schools. So you're focused on recruiting. With the early signing period, it used to be, right, only worried about the first week of February. And now, you know, with this early signing period, everything's bumped up on the timeline. And then you add in COVID and all the challenges. I mean, keep in mind, most of these kids have never had the chance to be on campus.
Right.
Unless they came pre, you know, March shutdown, which some probably did. A lot of them maybe had to see the campus and all the facilities and all the things via Zoom, via FaceTime, all sorts of different ways. So, the recruiting game this year is just flipped on its head. And one of those things is that you're in the middle of a game week, and that's, kind of unheard of from this standpoint. So, for the coaches to be able to pull this together and keep the group together. And we all know that, schools come in late and try and grab guys and flip and all those sort of things, for this class to stay intact, I think is really important.
You've got two from the state of Washington who do know the Cougs, just kind of by birth in being in the state, known of the Apple Cup. Ryan Kershaw is from Yakima, 6'2", 220-pound freshman. And let's see, we've also got, Andrew Edson, 6'3", 240-pound freshman from Snoqualmie, from Mount Si in Snoqualmie, Washington, a couple of in-state guys.
Yeah, and there's those two guys both, I think, are going to warm Coug fans' hearts. Kershaw, first of all, he reminds me so much of guys that I played with at the linebacker position, the Will Durdings, the Steve Dildines, the Scott Davis, the Pat Bennetts, guys that were running backs in high school from the state of Washington or from the Pacific Northwest that were all state level running backs and played linebacker and played some defense and were great players there and came to Washington State and transitioned to linebacker. You watch Kershaw, he's got great running back tape. You're kind of looking at him like, boy, this kid's pretty explosive. He's a powerful runner. And then you see his defensive tape and you see why the coaches want him at linebacker. He's a guy that's hard-nosed. He's going to bring his lunch pail to work every day. And I think he's a Coug through and through. And I love that. You get him out of Yakima, that those Coug bloodlines are going to run deep. And so I think that's a great pickup. Edson is a guy that's kind of your classic edge rusher. He's going to be a high motor guy, 6'3", 240 pounds. He's got great hands. What I mean by great hands is he's going to go, when a guy puts his hands on you to block, he's going to bang those hands down and get off and get low and rip around and be able to get to the quarterback. So you get two guys out of the state of Washington, for this Coug class, for this Washington State staff that, in the past few years under Mike Leach, didn't recruit heavily in state. That was widely talked about. You have a handful of offensive linemen that did a great job, but, by and large, you didn't get a ton of skill players out of there. And you get two this year right away that I think are going to be good players for Washington State. Super
curious to hear from Jason Severko how the COVID logistics and all these things changed, how they recruited, and is it going to affect it more next year than this year? Because some of these guys probably didn't play football this year, so they had maybe junior tape.
All the West Coast guys did not play football.
Yeah, so there are going to be some juniors in high school for next class who there's no such thing as junior tape. We always heard from Luke Falk about how impactful that was in the way he ended up at Washington State as a walk-on and what happened with his junior year recruitment or lack thereof. And so we're up against a break. We'll take it. We'll take our first break here, and then we'll talk to Jason Severko, football chief of staff, next as we roll through 15 new Cougs here on this 2020 early signing period.
side of the field. Perfect spiral over the shoulder. Touchdown.
He jumps off the page and he throws a really, really tight spiral. The ball just comes off his hand.
Delora drops it in the bucket.
You can just kind of almost sense like a little bit of aura around him that he's got it, you know, a little that kind of magic factor.
Thanks up.
Back here live from Pullman, Washington. It is 2020 early signing day. We're here with the QB Alex Brink, yours truly, and very pleased to be joined by the architect of the recruiting class, football chief of staff, Jason Severko, and you've got 15 new Cougs officially in. How are you feeling right now about the class? Has this been an exciting morning? Has this been a stressful morning? Has it gone to plan? What's your thought?
It's been an awesome morning. So far, no surprises, which is always good. Really excited about the class so far. Added a plethora of guys on defense and a couple good pieces on offense. And, great punters. So we're feeling pretty good right now.
Yeah, maybe we could start with the punter just because that kind of jumped off the page at everybody, right? You know, you got an Australian kid that gets to sign yesterday, our time, and, today, his time. And talk a little bit about, what he brings and why, frankly, why, you're extending a scholarship to a punter in this class.
Yeah, so Nick, he's an interesting one, obviously, because he's from Australia. You're relying on guys from Pro Kick, and they do a great job developing punters and kickers. And you can see in college football, the landscape's kind of changed within the special teams world, where a lot of guys are now coming from Australia. So, we trusted our connections down there. You watched the highlights that you guys saw. I mean, the ball explodes off his foot. Looks like he can be a weapon on special teams. So we're pretty excited about him.
Was he the first commit in America? I think he probably was, right? Must have been.
I'd have to go and look. We might have been the first one to put it out.
Right.
There's a trend where a lot of international guys, so you'd have to kind of see where the dates and everything are.
What has been the biggest hurdle of recruiting in COVID? In no campus visits and no in-person communication, or certainly limited in both of those. What's been the biggest hurdle for you guys?
I think the biggest hurdle, you kind of just said it, was there's no in-person interaction. So you're relying on Zoom, phone calls. And so you get to know them. But I think the thing about Pullman is it's a beautiful place and you got to see it. And once you see it, that's when from last year, that's when recruits fall in love with it. They love the atmosphere. They love the people. And it's just a good college town, right? So you're missing that. So you're trying to describe that over a Zoom. And so that's where it becomes tough. On the flip side, I think what's been awesome about it is also the Zooms, because you can talk to them a little bit more because the restrictions got lifted as far as phone calls. So you're able to have more people on phone calls and Zooms. And Rob and his staff did a great job just scheduling Zooms and not just making it, all right, you hit them one time and that's it. We had a whole plan where they would progress from, okay, you do this one first, this one second, this one third. So you keep it alive, and there's always something new to bring guys back to the seat.
Yeah, that's super unique. And I know from my experience as, getting recruited, ages ago, obviously you didn't have anything to do with Zoom, and even kind of the official visits, there was kind of that standard formula, and it's all evolved from then. But I got to think that, like a lot of other things during 2020, this has pushed something forward that you guys will be able to use, more in the future, like Zoom meetings and getting kids on campus virtually, which is awesome. Talk a little bit about the challenge of, particularly the West Coast kids not being able to play, their senior year, and if that affects anything when you evaluate talent, or kind of the haze in the barn when it comes to these guys that were playing, really the majority of them, I guess, on the West Coast.
No, and it is a challenge, like you said, because you really do rely on that senior tape just to validate your junior tape assessment. There's also guys that will pop, even in summer camps. We didn't get to go see anyone in summer camp. So guys will develop then, guys will develop senior year. So a guy, for example, would be Josh Meredith, where we felt really good about his junior tape. We think if he went through a summer camp or a senior year, we might not be talking about him today. So we think he's a little bit of a steal under the radar guy that, we trust our evaluation in him, and we think we got a good player. So again, it hurts the kids really that they didn't get to play his senior year. And it's just an unfortunate kind of byproduct of the COVID.
Yeah.
Did you look at the current roster makeup in terms of strengths, but then also the fact that the class can return, seniors can come back, and the way that the scholarships will go down the road, because you've got this waiver next year, but we're not sure that that'll continue the year after that. You got 85 spots that expands for 1 year, and how much did that play into the positions you looked at, and what was an area of need now versus down the road, and how that played into this class?
Yeah, that's a great question, Chaz. I mean, whenever I look at the roster, we're kind of looking 2 years down the line, right? Because you want to replace guys, and then if you bring in a freshman, let them develop for a year, so you're not relying on the true freshman, right? So you look at all that, but we definitely, once the that waiver got passed, it was like, okay, we look at the linebackers right now, right? You got Jihad, you got Dylan Shern, you got Justice. All those guys are coming back, so you get to dump them back on top of your recruiting class, and you feel good now. You got the senior leadership able to help bring those freshmen up that we signed today. So that played a big part of it for sure.
Looking at kind of the makeup of the class, a lot of depth on the defensive line, interior and at the edge position, it looks like. And then, only a couple offensive linemen as of right now. What is there, again, is that tied into kind of depth of rooms right now and positions of need, or is it, kind of best guys you found available?
When you first make a plan with the scholarships, you outline where you want to recruit guys, what positions you want to recruit. It kind of evolves through the process as you play games. So with the O-line, not as heavy there just because we do have a lot of depth and experience already there. And we've signed a lot of guys in the past couple of years, and we feel pretty good about it. But you never want to ignore the O-line, right? So we felt good about adding those two pieces. It's funny, I used to joke when we first got Brock. I don't know if you guys ever seen John Wick. I call him the John Wick of the O-line because he's just killing. And then Hilborn, obviously, we had his brother Hawaii, and we feel really good about his athleticism. As far as the D-line, I don't think you can ever have a good enough D-lineman. And it's a more of a high rotation position, especially within this defense. So we kind of wanted to overload there a little bit. And this year was unique, and there was a lot of good D-linemen out there to recruit. That's not always the case, and especially interior D-linemen, everyone wants them. They're so hard to find. So when you can add pieces like that we added in Gusta, and you feel good about it and feel good about your future.
I see that there are, by my count, approximately 10, 11 different states or regions where guys are coming from. This is the full country that you guys recruited. How much do you envision that being the trend? Is that a good thing? Is it a bad, not a bad thing, but is it something that you think is an oddity, we'll say? Is that a COVID thing? Is that a general emphasis for you guys? What do you think about the way, I see Nevada, I see New Mexico, we had Albuquerque, we had, of course, Australia, a couple from Texas, California, in-state, couple in-state guys. How about the full map being used?
I think what's interesting, if you look at our staff, we have a lot of people from a lot of different areas, coming from a lot of different schools with different backgrounds. So you kind of rely on your connections, especially this year with COVID, because you're calling the high school coaches the JUCO coaches, and you're saying, all right, who can play, and you're really trusting their word. So I think that's why it's kind of really well represented. With that being said, we're always going to start in Washington. That's where we want to try to find the bulk of our guys, and then kind of go from there. We have primary, secondary, and then tertiary areas. And so all these areas, except for probably New Mexico, are in those areas. Sam Carroll was someone that we identified early in the recruiting process. Baylor hopped on him pretty quick. It just so happened that we did a good job, Rob and his department with Mike and Ryan, staying on top of the kid and texting him kind of in the last couple of weeks and just kind of seeing where he was at. And that's how that one kind of popped.
What's the discussion like between you? You're going through and you have contacts and you've got people and high school kids that you like, and then you talk to the coaching staff and say, hey, this is, say, early on, like as a junior or sophomore, you say, hey, we're on this kid a little bit. I like this tape, and then the coach says, well, we don't need that spot, or I don't think we need that. What's your communication like with the staff and with Coach Rolovich and with all the coaches as to how you communicate who to target?
So I'll probably talk to Coach Rolovich almost daily on our numbers. It's an ever-evolving thing. And I always say you don't want to fall into that trap of, hey, we need this, because sometimes you just do want to take the best available guy, right? But yeah, it's tough, especially when you're evaluating, like you said, sophomores, juniors, because you really don't know due to transfers and, other factors that may happen if you're going to need that position later on. So you want to consistently recruit all the way to the end, every single position.
Jason, talk a little bit about, look, the nature of Washington State, and particularly under Nick Rolovich with the run and shoot, is that it's going to be an offensive focused, school at times. So, talk about the receiver position. You said you liked Josh Meredith. I love his tape. You guys nailed that one. He looks awesome on tape. But, there's a couple other guys. Obviously, CJ Moore's at, big potential, got big potential, coming off of JUCO and his time at Oklahoma State. But, a couple other guys in there with Orion Peters, that can make an impact, it looks like, particularly in the slot position. What do you see from that group, those three guys, and what do you like about them?
Orion is someone, I think he was our first commit. And he is someone that when you put on his tape, I love that kid. He is what I think one of the perfect slots for the run and shoot. He's dynamic. He's got speed. He catches the ball well, very savvy in space. That's someone I'm extremely excited about. And another one that I think we got really lucky. And I'm glad that he was the first one to jump in the boat and just stuck true to us. So I'm excited about him. CJ, like you said, from Oklahoma State, went to Iowa Central. He's a big target. He's going to kind of help us in the red zone. Proven guy, has experience already. So I think what you guys will start seeing is, as we start kind of installing more with the run and shoot and having more success, there'll be a lot more receivers that it almost becomes easier in recruiting, right? Because you're going to have more of your pick of the litter. But these three guys were all guys that have a lot of things going on, and we feel really good about and think that they'll all make an impact.
A little bit of breaking news here. Xavier Ward is now in, the quarterback from California, Corona, California. What's the scout, Jason, on Xavier Ward?
Well, Xavier, very athletic quarterback. He's got good arm strength. He's someone that we think we can insert into the run and shoot and do really, really well. I think what helps him is Coach Rolovich and Coach Stutzman have a great track record developing quarterbacks. So I think he's coming mid-year. So he'll have a chance to kind of come in here in the spring. And he's still young. I think he just turned 17. So he's still young, and he'll continue to develop. And I think he'll be a bright spot of this class.
Yeah, one of the notes on him was that he's got big hands, which, that's one of those things that comes around it always comes around the NFL draft, and people always talk about it, but it's very real, for a guy, to be able to grip the football, whether it's cold weather. I talk about it when I train quarterbacks. A lot of it has to do with ball control, right? Can you control the ball out of your hand? And guys with bigger hands, they can. And I think, you watch his tape and he's making throws all across the field. Not only can he push it downfield, but he's throwing the ball, hash to sideline, to far sideline. And he's making throws at the high school level that, I think translate really well, when you look at what he could do at Washington State.
Yeah, like you said, 10-inch hands is what we usually look for, especially,
I never would have made it. Can you believe that? Brutal.
You'd be the exception. You did
100%.
Hey, our requirements.
We're here with our chief of staff, Jason Severico, as some guys are starting to come in, and we're creeping up now toward 20. You have 25 spots typically per class. That's the max. Do you intend to kind of extend it out? Because this is a multi-day period here, and then this is also the early signing period. This is only the, second or third year of the early signing period in existence at all. How do you think February plays in? The first Wednesday in February plays into this, and you mentioned transfers. There's now a waiver potentially kind of hanging out there with the transfer portal and all that goes into that. What are your thoughts on how that sprinkles into this recipe?
We'll definitely save some for February and probably after that, because like you guys said, the transfer portal, it's almost in the last 3 days exploded. There's so many guys going into that. I don't know. That's a positive and a negative, because there's going to be a lot of guys left without scholarships, unfortunately. So that's kind of a negative to that. So we'll hold on to a couple, just kind of see what's out there, go through the spring and kind of reevaluate the team again, see if there's any immediate needs or any depth that we need to add. But yeah, I think we'll add a couple in February and definitely keep some through spring ball.
Well, listen, we really appreciate your time. Super excited to kind of roll through these bios and see where guys came from. And, we'll just keep lying about Brink's hand size. That's what we do. Every year we come through and we just tell lies about where the tape measure is. That's the whole deal.
I appreciate you guys having me. Can't stress how much we're excited about this class. I mean, as I look at these names, we didn't talk about Jaden Hicks. I mean, he's going to be a stud. Didn't talk about Gavin. That was a late one. Bam. I mean, these are going to be some high-impact guys. And, I just appreciate it. One thing, though, Bill Stevens, if you're listening, told me this is radio. I didn't comb my hair this morning, so don't pick me on that one.
You looks like you really let it go overnight. Really did. Yeah.
Embarrassing.
It is. And you mentioned Jaden Hicks. Comes from there are a few West Coast programs that fans have latched on to, both sports. Bishop Gorman's a huge basketball program, huge football program as well in Las Vegas. And I meant to ask you about Jaden Hicks because whenever you see a kid come from the pedigree of that kind of powerhouse, it's exciting.
Yeah. Adding someone from Bishop Gorman, some schools are overhyped. They're not. They're the real deal. We had Jaden's brother over at Hawaii, Kalen. Kalen came as, I believe, a walk-on and started at safety his true freshman year and never lost that spot. So if Jaden can we expect Jaden to be even better than his brother. His brother, I think, was 6'2". Jaden, when I looked at that video, was taller than him. I mean, this kid has all the tools. So this is going to be another guy to watch.
Love it. Love it. Hey, by the way, Utah Saturday, this is a regular season game week, which may never happen again in all this. How has that played into how you had time allocation this week and through the last couple of weeks trying to wrap this class up?
Again, luckily, we're really blessed here. It's not just me, obviously. Rob Schlager over in the recruiting department, he oversees Mike's Light, Jesse Samala, who sets up all the Zooms, Ryan Robinson, we got Bryce doing the graphics. I mean, just our team, it made it pretty seamless. It didn't affect the coaches too much. If anything, it's finals week too. That's where it gets getting.
Wild. Hey, congratulations, really, and thank you for this time. Great fun.
Thanks, guys.
Yep, that's our. Thank you very much. Our Chief of Staff, Jason Severico. We'll take a break, come back. We'll start to dig into things. We'll talk, among others, to Nick Rolovich. We'll talk to Jake Dickert. We'll talk to, I believe, Mark Weber, offensive line coach. We're going to talk to Andre Allen, who has a new load of wide receivers coming in to coach coming up next year, and some in spring ball. We'll break it all down as we're here 2020 signing day. 2020 signing day, and we are joined here by the head coach, Nick Rolovich, along with the QB AB, Alex Brink. Yours truly. Coach, congrats. You got nearly 20 new Cougs in. What's the highlight for you here on this day? When you look at this class and you think about this process this year, what jumps out to you big picture?
Well, I think it's a real congratulations go out to these kids for this accomplishment, for signing. This is a major deal in their life. Congrats to their coaches and their families and their support system. I got a lot of respect for the evaluation process that goes on in our recruiting department. I think it's some of the best I could even imagine as far as there's honesty. They're not chasing stars. They're looking for good fits. I think Rob Schlager has a real good idea, especially being with Jake in the defense for a couple of years. He understands a lot what they're looking for. And I thought we did a real nice job. I will probably, if I don't ever want to be short of D linemen, and I want to dominate the line of scrimmage on both sides. And I think we've really set a nice foundation for the core of the defense with this class.
Yeah, it sure feels like, we talked a little bit, to Jason about that defensive line and some of the depth. He talked about the interior guys, but, I want to talk about a couple of the rush guys because, there's a couple guys out there that, they're a little light right now, but that doesn't stay the same once they get on campus. And you can see the frames. I mean, long arms, they get extended on offensive tackles, they shed blocks. Looks like they can dip and rip and get around the corner. Talk about a couple of the rush guys and kind of your thoughts there because we all know getting after the quarterback is a must, particularly in the Pac-12.
That is a must. And first Edson, from in-state, got a lot of power to his game. Loves the Cougs. It's just this one's meant to be. I think he fits how we're going to play, why we're going to play. He's playing for something bigger than just himself and his family, which I think is going to bring a lot to the locker room. Lawrence Falatea, again, more of that speed guy. Got some length. Polynesian kid who's going to put on weight. In the next few years. I think his athleticism and twitch is at a real high level. And Ram Stevenson, a guy who's got incredible length, and really, I think, and plus the guys we brought in this last class, I think there's going to be a plethora of edge rushers for us. And Coop does a great job being demanding of those guys and making them better. I think you see RJ and BJ getting better this year, and I think that's an exciting thing for me. I know I'm an offensive guy, but the better we can be on defense, especially stopping the run and then getting people behind the sticks and getting after the pass rusher, we're going to try to do it.
Jason Severko mentioned how that's a position of rotation, right? You want to bring fresh legs. How many guys do you feel like is ideal? When you're set and you've got the ideal setup, how many D linemen do you think you want active in the game who are real threats to sack the quarterback or stop the run?
Well, I don't know if there's an ideal number, but what you're getting a lot more bigger athletic bodies in the special teams world, and they can contribute in more ways. And I think it's not going to be just one, edge rusher who's getting all the attention. I think it's going to be the group, and I think it's going to lead to better competition and the uplifting of all of their games and their contributions on special teams. I think we're going to look a lot different in the future.
I've kind of Coach, a bigger picture question. Chaz touched on it earlier with Jason about kind of how spread out some of these guys are as far as, geographical locations of where they're at. What is your take? You're coming from Hawaii, you come to Washington State, you're obviously all settled in now, of the brand of Washington State football across the country and what people see, when they see that Coug Head logo pop up, whether it's, you can't walk into schools currently, but when you could walk into schools and when you have those conversations, how do you feel, that is playing out, as you go through the recruiting process and land on a day like today?
Well, I think the recent history of the program and a lot of the attention with, a couple of years ago and Coach Leach and bowl games, I think there was a respect already kind of growing, and I think the logo obviously is eye-catching and people recognize it, and that may be the initial bait, but I think when they get to meeting the people in this program and yes, we're football coaches, but we want to be great people. And, understanding what it means to be a Coug, not that I'm saying I'm a master in it yet, but a lot of the qualities I enjoy. And I think that's why we're going to start as much as we can in Washington. And here's the thing, Frank, it's much like Hawaii. If a kid doesn't want to come here, we're not going to trick them into coming here. They will be more successful when they see the values and the experience they're going to have, and they want what this community and university have to offer. They're going to be a better player. And I don't want to be a different coach, in the recruiting, and then they get here and you're a completely different guy, because I've seen that a bunch too, and I've heard stories about that. And I want to be true and honest and genuine from the minute we first contact them till the day they leave on graduation.
What was it like for you trying to get to know kids without the on-campus, in-person element because of COVID?
I really like what the recruiting department did as far as some of the recruiting Zooms, the virtual visits. I think that might be something that people would enjoy to see. Everybody in their department, whether it's Miss Lindsay in nutrition, Dwayne and his group in weight room, academics, campus videos, a video from the Pullman airport to the facility, it takes 7 minutes. I mean, those are type of things that try to give people as much as we can of what this place is like. And, if they're loving it on that, when they get here, I think they're going to, when they feel the energy in the community and we get more people around and on campus, I think it's just going to be even better than they anticipated.
Go ahead, Breaker.
Well, I wanted, we kind of talked to Jason about that wide receiver group, which obviously is great, but, I'd love for you to touch more specifically on Xavier Ward, the quarterback. I mean, everybody wants to hear that. Probably want to hear it from your mouth. What did you see on tape that jumped out to you that made you want him, to come be the guy in this class?
Well, I think a lot of it is from some of his coaches, his people that we've dealt with before. Quarterback coach that we've already had one of his guys play for us. So that's Cole McDonald. Knows how we coach, know what we're about, know what we ask of our guys. And he's training him. And what I think the best thing about Xavier is he's only 17 years old still. He is going to grow into a bigger, and he's athletic already, but I think he's going to be a pretty large quarterback when he comes out of here. I know what do we list him at now?
6'2", 195. Yeah.
I think with his skill set and his accuracy, and just his throwing the ball, I think he's at a real baseline level as far as the willingness to learn the offense and kind of a fresh slate for us, which I'm going to enjoy.
Is his season about to start in January? Is that what I'm reading here? It says senior season moved to January due to COVID, or is he?
I don't know what's going on in California completely, to be honest with you, but Xavier is going to plan on being here for spring ball.
Okay. All right. That's what I was wondering. So spring. So how many, do you have any sense of how many, first of all, how spring ball might work? Is it going to be a lot of, workouts?
I don't know how this weekend's going to work. But, no, you'd like to get an 8-week, like a solid 8-week weight program in the weight room with Dwayne, and the new turf in the bubble is going to give us an opportunity to train, I think, during the winter at a real high level, especially with some of the field work. And we'll get we'll get more than a handful of guys here at mid-year to help us. So, and I think it'd be good for these kids to have some consistency and train towards something, and then have a kind of a normal spring ball. Because I'm proud of the way they battled through. It just hasn't been real consistent for them, and that wears on them.
And Chaz, I know you have not had the experience of having to take a knee on that old turf inside the bubble, but I did. And the miracle of not getting a staph infection to have have new turf in there is a big deal. So I'm happy for you guys, Coach. That's exciting.
It looks great.
Players are very happy.
The turf looks really good in there.
Yeah, they did a real nice job, and there's plenty of space. There's a full football field in there now, and space on the sides, and you can hold a full-fledged practice, which is awesome.
Yeah, the old stuff was old. Was the old classic kind of AstroTurf. You can see it in the videos and stuff. So that's a big time upgrade. This is a game week. You got Utah on Saturday, Coach. How has that played into availability and time allocation and game prep and all that goes into a regular game week, but having to do something of such import, but also such an undertaking?
Well, a lot of this work has been done all along, so there's not a whole lot. There wasn't very many surprises. There wasn't a rush to let's sign this guy. I purposely wanted to keep some, not only for February signing, but this transfer portal market. And initially it was for the states who were going to be able to play in the spring. We were going to get a whole nother senior season for a lot of kids to evaluate. Then you've got the ability to, find guys who played good their senior year, who weren't on everyone's radar. I mean, there's plenty of those guys in this country. So, we're going to keep a few, and I'm glad we are. We'll have a couple more coming in today, but for the most part, this will be the group that comes from the first signing day.
Is it hard looking forward for juniors who didn't play this year? Does it make next year's recruiting even more difficult than this year's?
I think the question that needs to be answered for everyone is how is the 22 recruiting numbers going to work? Because right now you're getting 25 plus your seniors or 85 plus your seniors in this 21 season. But then your seniors go that nobody else is going. Are we going to have to stay at 85? It could really severely impact the opportunities for the 22 class unless some adjustments are made, whether they go to just a clean 85 model or, the 25 a year signing limit is, it's got to be discussed because, you add the amount of people in the portal, these are kids who are a lot of times giving up scholarships, and all the schools are limited to 25 and they've been recruiting high school kids, there's going to be some guys who gave up scholarships who are not going to be able to get a scholarship to play football. And even worse, are probably not going to be, there's going to be some that aren't even in college anymore. So I think we need to look at the whole system and come up with a plan moving forward.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you for this time. Congrats to all the new Cougs. Congrats to you and everybody for getting this together. And
congrats to you guys. Hey, this staff did a wonderful job. Really good job as far as I don't want to trick these guys. I don't want to play the game. I don't be who you are. Tell them the truth. We're a small town, fun-loving town, and we get some snow. And if you don't like that, then you're not ready to play in the playoffs in the NFL. That's what we say.
That's 100%. Yeah, or be a Green Bay Packer. Like that's out of it.
Right. Well, there's an inherent toughness in this region, and I think in this football program, and I don't want to pretend that that's not the case. And if this isn't for you, that's fine. That's fine. There's enough tough, blue collar, hardworking young men that will appreciate this experience, and we'll find them and we'll bring them here.
Love it. Love it. Thank you, Coach.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too. Absolutely. That's Coach Rolovich as we continue our 2020 early signing day, the first day of this 2020 signing period. We have nearly 20 new Cougs. We're starting to get toward that 20 number, just shy of it, as we are live here with Alex Brink and Matt Chasnow, as this is our first of 2 hours. We're toward the bottom of this first hour. We'll be on till 11, and we'll talk to the coaches who recruited the players as we work into the position group specifically working through here next.
Freak of nature. That's exciting.
Stand by. Mike's up.
Live here with the QB, Alex Brink. Matt Chasnow with you, and our defensive coordinator, Jake Dickert, joins us now on this 2020 signing day special. Coach, we've got ourselves nearly 20 new Cougs that are in. How do you feel about your side of the ball, your defensive guys coming in here?
Well, I'll tell you what, big smile on my face today. You know, I know this is always looking towards the future, but this is the culmination of a lot of hard work, you know, so really appreciative to Rob Schlager and his staff and our personnel department and to bring in what is our first true full class and really put our stamp on this program for the future is just a really exciting day for us and our coaches and just everybody involved. So we're excited about where we're at and continue to get a couple guys here as we go yet.
That's awesome, Coach. Is there, you know, everybody kind of does it different nowadays, right? Like, especially with having personnel departments and having guys that are specifically focused on recruiting. But for you, you know, specifically, do you recruit an area? Are you trying to kind of see the overarching defensive group? Are you focused on, you know, safeties and DBs? You know, how does that fit for you personally throughout the year?
That's a good question. I mean, it's multitasking a little bit. So I still have San Diego and Texas. But overall, ultimately responsible for my position group, which is the linebackers, but then ultimately overseeing the whole defensive side of the ball. You know, so we've kind of brought a system here of how we want to evaluate from our recruiting guys, which transitions to the position coach. Then obviously as the coordinator, we watch it and put that final stamp of approval. So these guys have cleared every level. And it's been good to see and good to watch. And we're excited about our main thing, guys, is development. What can they be? Okay, not what they are now, okay? And it's not about stars now. It's who's here in 3 years. Where are those guys at? What are they doing? You know, that's just part of our plan, right? So, you know, signing day is a celebration. I told those guys celebrate today, but tomorrow let's go to work, okay? And all these guys chose Washington State because it's not going to be easy, okay? I told every one of them, don't come here because you want it easy, okay? We're going to challenge you every day. We're going to make you be your best on and off the field. And I think this is a class the Cougs fans are going to be really proud of.
You mentioned this is your real first recruiting class. Yeah. You came in last year and it was a scramble. This is your first chance to really get your full class in and have some time to really do it. As you envision the defense, now that you're starting to really get into the, well, I was going to say the teeth of pack play. It's been a weird year. But as you work into this full year, as we hope next year to be more conventional, more traditional, how do you envision the defense, and what did you look at in terms of the type of player that you felt like you needed or wanted to bring the defense to what your ideal goal is here?
Well, and you can see it. It starts up front. And that was the emphasis the whole way. That's going to be the emphasis going forward. That's going to be the emphasis in this defense for eternity, right? So our big emphasis there is to grow them, right? Find athletes, right? Find edge rushers that can have athletic ability. Find guys that maybe play linebacker that can transition down. Find guys with length, size, and speed, okay? Because there's one thing that you can't just teach. It's length, size, and speed. We can develop a lot of different things, technique, hand placement, quick twitch. You know, so those are the guys that we're really focused on finding, and we really felt like we did a good job here, and we're going to finish the day even better. So that was the focus. And then in the back end, you know, we're still working on getting a couple of cover guys to finish out the class, but versatility. You know, we got a bunch of safeties that can play multiple positions within our 4-2-5, free safeties, strong safeties, nickels, and then just enhancing our athletic ability at linebacker. So we feel like we're really addressing those areas the most.
Yeah, you talked about, you know, kind of your focus at times is Texas, two defensive guys out of Texas, and Ram Stevenson and Adrian Shepard, a defensive back who we haven't had a chance to talk about, but I loved his tape as a safety. I mean, he's a guy that's going to come downhill and he'll put his face on you a little bit, and he runs the alley really well. I got to believe that.
Second year. It's only a second year playing defense.
That's crazy.
That's what's exciting about, you know, for us.
That's great. So, yeah, you know, maybe talk about those guys a little bit, just because I'm sure you saw a lot of them, you know, focusing on that area.
Yeah, and I think Ram is your typical edge rusher, right? A guy that you just can't give one-on-one. I mean, you saw that speed off the edge, very Willie Taylor-esque, right? He's going to loop and lean, and he's going to reach, and he's got that ability to finish and come around the corner, right? So more of those type of guys that can play on their feet, can execute in space, and is really excited about what he brings. And then Shep, he's just a cool guy to get to know, guys. You know, I mean, you're going to love this kid. Just a football kid, right? And that's what it's about this class, right? And you can't, you know, speak to every kid, but football guys that want more, that want to learn the game, and Shep is one of those guys. His best days as a defensive player are ahead of him, Okay, that's the focus. It isn't other offers that the kid had. It's what he can do to fit our system. And between tackling, ranging, running, blitzing, we put a lot on that strong safety position, and we feel he's pretty ideal for that fit.
I have a list that's alphabetical, so I'm going to hit some of the defensive guys. Those were actually the two just by S, being from Texas. They're on the bottom there. But Gavin Barthiel, he was a Georgia Tech commit. He flipped. And then Sam Carroll was a Baylor kid who flipped. How about those two, linebacker and then defensive line, Barthiel and Carroll?
Well, I think Gavin, his length and ability, and his was an amazing recruiting process. You just got to stay with it, right? And talk a little bit about just overall. I know we'll stay on Gavin, but his ceiling is really, really high. He got the ability to play in Florida down there. But, just imagine guys being 17, 18 years old, and they've never been here. Okay. So you're trying to recruit through that. And we know as Cougs, the best part about Washington State is being on campus, right? Feeling the community, feeling the love, feeling the support, feeling everything. So to show people on Zoom what Washington State is, I think we did an amazing job. Okay, but at the same time, you put your, shoes in a kid from Florida, what that's like to just try to see it over and to the trust and the belief that kid has is amazing. But he's going to be a prototypical inside linebacker for us. We're excited about his range and what he can do. Same thing, like he plays out in space now, but he'll transition into the box within our defense. And then Sam, he's going to be here at mid-semester, which is even such a big bonus. That gives that kid an opportunity to be on the field next year. But another kid that's going to come in here at 260, and by the time you see the roster next year, he's going to be 275 plus. Right? It's just a fun transformation, but he's an Army family, an Army kid. He's got that work ethic, that grit, that toughness, and then 6'4" plus with levers that we can grow. We're just excited. I mean, you see that guy catch the ball? It's exciting, man.
Sam's a 3-sport athlete, and his father's a colonel in the military. Yes. There's a lot of meat on the bone there with Sam. There's a lot going on there. So he's a really good athlete. Yes. Basketball, baseball, football, and then comes from what I assume all that comes along with that's a lot of discipline and a lot of focus.
Absolutely. And that's going to be a theme too, is just finding guys that don't just specialize in one thing. Right. So if you want to find guys that have high upside, those are your type of athletes we want to find. So just excited about those two at the finish line. That's why I got this big smile on my face.
We got to talk just real quick. I got to get your thoughts, Coach, on Ryan Kershaw. I mean, he's in your position group as a linebacker. He's an in-state kid. A lot to like from Coug fans for sure, just with the history of in-state linebackers at Washington State. Talk a little bit about him.
Well, just a unique recruiting process. I think he's one of those guys that he's always dreamed about being a Coug. His family loves the Cougs. He's been to many games, so in the recruitment of Ryan, it was just fun to hear his passion, and he's come from a small school. He actually has played D-line. He's just throwing kids around. I mean, it's just fun to watch how he plays the game, so as this recruiting process just kept going, same thing. It's a fit, it's a fit, right? In today's world, you got to find a fit. Guys are going to be here for 5 years, right? That's going to be an important part of the process going forward. And Ryan's a Coug through and through. Okay. He will have growing pains going forward, but the athlete is there. Okay. Now it's my job with coach on my sleeve to get him right. So another guy's going to be a mid-year enrollee, get to get my hands on him early. So we're excited about him showing up on campus here in about 5 weeks.
I can't let you go until we talk Jaden Hicks a little bit. Bishop Gorman, 6'2", big DB, 6'2", 195 is a really big DB. Where does he fit? What kind of player is he?
That's awesome because same thing. We want to recruit as many corners as possible, and Jaden's playing corner at that size.
That's a big corner, yeah.
That's a big corner, So, but to bring that type of versatility, in our 4-2-5, we think he can play all three, right? So from the nickel cover ability to the free safety with the range to the box strong, let's see where that body goes. But to have that type of versatility that has played high school ball at that type of level. Just exciting, so to bring him into the fold is another just huge positive for us.
I could keep you for another full hour here. I mean, this is, but I know that I know you're busy because, by the way, the Utes, you're going to Salt Lake City on Saturday.
I know it. It's been a crazy week. Finals, a signing day, game week. Bring it on 2020. Let's go. It's all the same, man.
I love it. I love it. It's well. Thank you, Coach. That's Coach Jake Dickert, our DC. Thank you very much.
Thanks for all you guys do.
Thanks, Coach.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Coach. That's Jake Dickert, our defensive coordinator, linebackers coach here for the Cougs. Let's pause 10 seconds before we take this break. Let's pause 10 for stations to identify themselves as affiliates. This is Coug Football. defensive coordinator, Jake Dickert, before we hit this break and get to some more position coaches, he is ecstatic about some of these D linemen and some of these DBs. I know he's thinking defensive side of the ball here through that prism, but he feels really good about these guys.
Yeah, and I think he should. I mean, there's to his point. I mean, there's some long, rangy athletes at all positions that have physical traits that you can't coach, and they feel like they can come in and add weight to certain guys or coach up certain guys. You hear him talk about fit. I mean, when you hear stories about Barthiel never being on campus and being that excited to come to Washington State, and Carroll and his backstory being a military brat, and a guy that 3-sport athlete, Kershaw being the in-state guy. I mean, all these guys have kind of a unique thing that, to be totally honest, as a guy that was recruited to Washington State, there's got to be a reason in your heart that takes you up to Pullman. It's not enough to just be, it's in the Pac-12. There's not that. That's one of the differences about Washington State. Sometimes that happens, right? Guys commit to UCLA because it's in the Pac-12 and it's in LA, and it seems like a cool thing to go do. With Pullman and Washington State, I mean, there's got to be something that draws you to it. And I think that's what these coaches are speaking to, is these kids feel like, they have found the fit with Washington State and this Washington State staff.
Are we going to go through the annual tradition of the Alex Brink signing day, high school signing day, post state title signing day story with the pancakes?
No frills. Pancakes and a fax machine and a trip to FedEx.
I love it. Where was your elaborate video? I still need to see it.
It'd be on VHS somewhere probably, but we don't. You didn't have your personal film crew like the kids do these days.
Oh, they are elaborate. Some of them are really fun. Some of them are really high quality. They're really good videos.
100%. There might be some money spent on
professional.
Those
they're really good.
I hope it's worth it, but it's like you heard the point, right? Coaches, celebrate today, enjoy it. It's an incredible accomplishment, but we're going to get to work tomorrow.
Right.
That's the thing. All these guys are going to find out is it's time to go to work.
For sure. All right, we'll take a break. We're at the top of the second hour of the show. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We are talking signing day. We've got Cougs rolling in. We've yet to talk to John Stribling, signed while we were talking to Coach Dickert. 6'2", 195-pound freshman wide receiver, very highly touted, highly ranked receiver from Hawaii, who we haven't talked about yet. Let's take a break, come back, and we'll talk about Deshaun Stribling next. We've got ourselves our 2020 signing day special with the QB, Alex Brink, and yours truly, now joined by our offensive coordinator, Brian Smith. Thanks so much, Coach, for taking the time. I know it's a super busy game week Wednesday, game week signing day Wednesday, but this is wild times from the OC perspective. A lot of wide receivers. We're looking at this new class here. We see JUCO wide receiver. We see modern day Josh Meredith. We see Orion Peters. Deshaun Stribling just came in. You've got some size, 6'2" on the outside there. You've got some real pieces here, it looks like, at least on paper. How about on film? What do you like about these guys?
Yeah, run and shoot requires a lot of legs, similar to how it's been here in the past. So that was a big emphasis, was to get more in that room. And, we wanted to get a big outside receiver that was more experienced. And we got that in CJ. He's a talented kid, and, we're excited about him and his ability to stretch the field, win 50-50 balls, and give us a real vertical threat outside. And then, increasing our depth with some of the young kids. Strib was a kid that we had in camp in high school back when we were in Hawaii, and just loved him in camp, loved how he competed. You can see a lot of that on film, and just how strong his hands are, how he can catch the ball outside of his body, spring work, and then how he's competing for a yard after catch, and how he's playing physical, and still has good long speed. Orion is electric. He's what you're thinking in the slot for us. Speed, twitch, and then Josh is very flexible for us. When we first started looking at him, we were looking at him as really as a slot kid, and his build was, he played some running back. He had kind of a running back build, and then the more we got a chance to see him online in 7-on-7 drill stuff, got a better feel for his body type. There's a lot of flexibility where he could end up being an outside or an inside receiver for us, and has skill sets to do a lot of things.
Coach, I got to ask, just because I'm going down the list, and it's kind of your position group, so to speak, but no running back on the list, and I don't know if there will be one at some point. Does that have to do with depth in the room? Are you guys going to kind of see what happens over the next few months and see where that lands? What's kind of the plan there?
Yeah, we are planning to add one more to the groups. We are still planning to add one if we can. There's some kids that we're recruiting right now that we're not planning to sign on the early signing period, so we're just continuing to roll with that, and we're fairly flexible with that position in terms of what we need. So that one would probably expect to add somebody in February.
Yeah, that's a whole element here. This early signing period, it in and of itself as a calendar switch, you're now starting to mature from what all the coaches around the country are doing, and then the way kids react to it, and then the way the transfer portal plays in, and then sprinkle in a little bit of 2020 COVID, and then waivers and scholarship additions for next year. This is a kind of a recruiting year unlike any other, right?
No doubt. This entire year is like no other.
Right.
It's very unique. And, we were happy having, a handful saved after this class to see what else is out there. And, the most interesting thing with this recruiting class is just the fact that, hardly any of these kids we've really seen in person. So it's been a lot of recruiting on Zoom and, meeting the families that way and, doing virtual visits. But there's been very little in-person interaction with them. So we're okay having a couple, and, there's obviously a lot that goes on in the portal, and that's fairly active right now. I think we're very happy with the kids that we got, and we still feel good about having some in the pocket for February.
And for you, personally, Coach, what is, we talked to Coach Dickert earlier. He's kind of Texas, he was focused on Texas, San Diego. What's your area specifically, or are you focused kind of overarching, but recruiting area? Do you have an area that you focus on?
I do. Yeah, I have a good chunk of Southern California. I do most of the North Los Angeles and then Orange County areas. And then I'm involved with, all the offensive recruits as well.
Sure. I got to think in this year that, relationships had a ton to do, with the way you were able to, look at kids or talk to kids, talking to high school and junior college coaches. You talked about with, Stribling, you guys had seen him during your time at Hawaii. How much did those type of situations play into, the kids in this class?
A good amount. And when you can't see them as much in person, you've got to kind of really trust your evaluations, trust how you're seeing them on film. trust the people that are recommending them to you. So you go back to relationships you have with the high school coaches or people in the area, and, how that has been with you in the past and how the recommendations have been for you in the past, to help you with the process.
How much negotiating was there with Jake Dickert about, like, now let's talk Ryan Kershaw here because he's an all-state running back. So now hang on a second with this whole linebacker situation. This is an LB RB kind of guy, right?
Yeah, he is. There's that was a kid that we were happy to just get into the program, and we know he's going to help us somewhere. He's starting off there for sure, but he is a kid that will definitely help us. And even more than him is just being an all-state player. He's a Coug through and through, and that was evident from the first time we talked to him. So there's no doubt that he's going to be an impact player for us.
Did you hear that, Brinker? That was he's in the program. I didn't hear the words linebacker from Brian Smith's mouth. I didn't hear that.
He is a linebacker.
We gotta touch on only 2 offensive linemen in the class, but 2 pretty good ones. I mean, I really like. You can see Dew is a guy that's gonna go out there and he's gonna put his face on somebody. He's gonna put people in the dirt. I'm sure you gotta love that. A guy that can play probably interior with his body type. Both him and. I didn't know this, but it sounds like Hilborn is a guy that you guys had a relationship with. His brother maybe played at Hawaii. Is that right? So you guys kind of know him a little bit. Is that correct?
Yeah, Brock, is a true offensive lineman. Gritty, physical, finishes. Kind of old school kid, and you love that, and you love watching how he plays the game, and it looks like he loves football, which is the things and traits you want in an offensive lineman. And Christian, we recruited his older brother Caden when we were at Hawaii, and he was with us our last year as a freshman. So we had a relationship with the family already. So we were able to kind of get on that one early and really knew what we were getting with the kid and the family. So that was a real good fit for us. And, he's that long athletic kid, played 2 ways, will be a good fit for us at tackle.
What's your scout on Xavier Ward, the QB, for how he fits in the run and shoot? Big, 6'2", 195, and Coach Rollo emphasized he's only 17. He's 6'2", 195, but young, and there's a lot of time to mature there.
Yeah, that's the one of the biggest things with him is just the upside is unbelievable. And you look at the bloodlines. His dad played basketball at Stanford, and is like 6'7", I believe. And he's just a young kid. He's going to grow. He's going to develop. He's a great leader. Anytime you talk to him, it's the type of personality you want in a quarterback, that people are really just drawn to him as a person. So he's got the ability to really pull a room together. Very smart, good student, all those intangible traits that you want, he has. And in my experience, I recruited that school in the past, and we took a quarterback from there to Hawaii. And when I was recruiting that quarterback, the head coach said, "Hey, now just letting you know, there's another kid that's young right now, but that one you're going to want to come back and get to." So it was, hey, you're going to love this kid I have now, but this one's going to be really special. So
was that Cole McDonald? Was that Cole?
No, that was not.
Okay.
His name is Jeremy Musa.
Okay. All right. It sounds like the plus side of a lot of these kids, which is probably typical of a lot of classes in general, but there's a lot of optimism for a couple of these guys on what they could be and what they'll develop into pretty quickly too.
Yeah. Anytime you're recruiting young kids, you're excited about what their future is, what they can be, and as they get here and they get into our strength program, our nutrition program, how they're going to grow, how they're going to develop. That's one of the exciting things about signing day is, the visualization of what everyone's potential is going to be.
Kind of a weird year, Coach. Usually after, early signing day, you get to take a little bit of a breath for a little bit. And you guys got to get dialed in probably for practice here this afternoon and a game on Saturday.
Absolutely. We're rolling on Utah. When they started the early signing day, this one's fairly similar for us. It's a little bit different. Usually we've been in bowl prep. So a lot of times we've been waking up in a hotel early and, getting all these NLIs in. Now it's more of a regular season game. So it's not quite like the February signing day where, when it's done, it's that, sigh of relief and get to relax for a little bit. Now we're still, full in great game prep, and we're practicing in a few hours.
Coach, we'll let you get to it. We know you're trying to get the offense ready for the Utah Utes. You're going to Salt Lake on Friday to take on this final regular season game of the year. So thank you for this time. It's a busy time, and we really appreciate it.
All right, appreciate you guys having me on.
All right, absolutely.
Thanks,
That's
Coach. Appreciate it.
Offensive coordinator Brian Smith. We'll take a break, come back. OC/running backs coach Brian Smith as we get set for this. We continue to get you introduced to this 2020 signing class here, of which we now have, 17 by my count, I believe, as we're creeping up toward 20 here on this first of the early signing day period. Box with the all-time Cougar great Alex Brink and our recruiting coordinator and cornerbacks coach, John Richardson. Coach, thanks very much for taking the time on a busy Wednesday. Really appreciate it.
I appreciate you guys. I'm blessed to be here, with a legend in Alex, amongst from this Zoom. So definitely appreciate your time.
Coach, I appreciate that. I don't need all that this morning. I'm feeling pretty good. Excited to talk some ball, watch some film. I don't get to do that. I got a 10-month-old at home, so I get to now today I get to watch some ball. I love it.
Absolutely.
Coach, you of all of the folks as the recruiting coordinator, but also as the cornerbacks coach, have got to be pretty darn excited with the way your Jaden Hicks and Adrian Shepard look on film. Is that accurate? Is that an accurate reflection of your emotional state? How are you feeling?
Well, I'm excited anytime we get to add new Cougs into the family. I mean, it's definitely a unique year recruiting. I mean, let's be honest, we haven't even seen some of these kids. So it's definitely a unique time for guys to trust us in this recruiting class and see our vision, even though they weren't able to be here. Because we all know once you get to Pullman, it's a completely different atmosphere. And these young men only got to see it on video, so it's been a great. But yeah, to add more depth in the secondary is always great for me. And being able to see more guys running around back there, but also it brings in competition. And that's what drives every young man on this earth. So we're excited about our recruiting class so far.
It's such a testament to, the evolution of all of this in the recruiting process. It was, there's huddle, obviously, the ability to access tape. Clearly Zoom is a huge piece of the puzzle here, but your guys' ability to, evaluate talent off of purely a screen, essentially, and maybe having seen them, a year or two ago potentially, but I think that's incredible. And I think I'm sure for you guys, it's a way, you got to kind of trust your instincts on what you see when on the film, right?
Absolutely. Like you mentioned, going media wise and just looking at, different YouTube clips that some guys that they weren't able to play this year. Let's be quite frank about it. They weren't able to get senior tape, but just evaluating how they've been progressing over time on their own and getting those videos in. But it's been a lot of dialogue, a lot of watching tape. I mean, usually you're just doing that to break down your opponent, but now it was really evaluating. I mean, going back to their sophomore year to their junior year, and then seeing a little bit of updated film from some of the guys that were able to play. But it's been a year that we have to definitely trust our instincts, and we all go back to the great players that we probably had in the past, and how does he relate to this guy? And you try to reach and find different things to kind of give you that conviction, to know that guy is going to be that guy. But it ultimately came down to the type of young men that they are as people. And so for us, to be able to get to where we want guys that trust the vision and can see the vision. And one thing I will say is that the guys that signed with us today, they definitely believe in us, because it's a little bit hard when you're not even get to see the place. So it was definitely a great day.
Chaz, you'll appreciate this. I got to share this because, Coach knows, and he alluded to it. I work with a lot of young men down in Oregon that are, trying prospective collegiate athletes trying to play in college, and, didn't get high school football this fall. And so to Coach's point, they're trying to show that they've changed their bodies from, last year to this year over the last 12 months. So, workout videos, YouTube clips of them out on the field. I mean, different ways to do it. And I know, Chaz, you would love to video your workouts to show everybody. So I thought that was something that wanted to share with everybody out there about the challenges that were faced by these kids, but also for you, Chaz.
I appreciate that.
You could, if you want to throw anything up on Facebook or YouTube, feel free.
Huge Jim look at me guy with a 3-month-old. Absolutely. That's the most important thing that I've got going now, especially during COVID. Gyms are closed. I've got one in the garage. Absolutely. Coach, what is your process? What is your involvement with the staff, with recruiting coordinator as your title, with relative to signing day? Like, how much is this your baby and this your day as much as it is everybody's?
Yeah, well, it's definitely everybody. It's not just me. Rob Schlager does a great job in evaluating young men, as well as, as our director of player personnel and things like that. But, one thing I will say is in the roles that we all have, we work together as a team and as a unit. Now, of course, signing day is definitely something I pay attention to quite a bit, but, we all do as a staff. And to be honest, we do this collectively. Every young man that we've been able to do Zoom meetings with and things like that, it was more than just one coach on that Zoom. It was more than one coach calling this kid and letting him know what we feature. But ultimately, the plan was to bring Coach Rolo's his vision and explain that to the young man, but also bring the coordinators' roles and what they envision as well, and bring that into plan too. So it wasn't just me. It's not a one-man show. These coaches on this staff have done a great job in building these relationships, because let's be honest, these parents are trusting their son to go off to a university that most of them haven't even seen before. And so that takes a lot of relationship. It takes a lot of getting to know these young men. But who's better to do that than, not only the area recruiter or the recruiting coordinator, but more importantly, their position coach. That plays a huge factor too, because as we know, once you get into the swing of things, you spend a lot of time with your position coach, right? And so for us, those guys have done a phenomenal job reaching out and basically explaining their vision. And it's extended us as far as how much time we spend in front of a screen now, to basically try to get our vision across to these young men, because everyone's showing what they have to offer. But of course, here at Washington State, we're going to offer what we offer. And if a young man likes it, great. And if he doesn't, great. But ultimately, the kid has to choose what's best for him.
What's your geography for recruiting? What did you have one, like a spot that's specifically yours? Brian Smith was Southern California. He said, did you have a region that was yours?
Yeah, so I have a little bit of Georgia, but also I have I have the state of Georgia, but also some of Southern California as well. So me and Brian Smith, we kind of split that up a little bit, because as we all know, the state of California produces a lot of talent for the Pac-12.
Sure.
We're trying to make sure that we do the best we can and snag some talent out of there as best as we can. So we definitely were spread thin as being a new staff, not being able to get out on the road and show and see who we are as people. I mean, the unique year that we had this year was not being able to go to home visits. Now, we all know Southern California, you don't see much snow. I mean, I would like a couple home visits now. Some guys would love to go into Texas.
Just an excuse to go see some sunshine. I see what you're getting at there.
But it was a unique year, and we all have different areas that we primarily focus on. But I'm primarily Southern California as well as the state of Georgia, and so that's a whole new animal with Georgia, trying to get a guy all the way out this way.
Yeah, well, we've had one or two, but yeah, that is tough. We got to, Chaz. I don't know if you got the note, but we got some breaking news.
No, talk to me.
I want to get Coach's thoughts. So we did get Francisco Mauigoa in, and I know Coug fans will be excited about that because obviously Freddie's brother. He probably was just waking up from the island, from America Samoa, honestly. So it's not like he was waiting. It was, there's a reason for it. So talk a little bit about Francisco. I mean, he's a good looking linebacker. He's not playing offensive line. He's a good looking linebacker.
Yes, he will not play offensive line. He's definitely a linebacker for us. We like the fact that, he has his brother to know what Pullman's all about, right? And so that's one of the best sales you could possibly have is when a young man has a great experience here in the past and he loved what we feature here, and then branching out to his younger brother. But ultimately, Francisco, I mean, he's a physical kid. He played in California for a minute, then went back to the island. But yeah, he is just waking up. So it's been an interesting year as far as going from the future in our punter yesterday to going to late today. So
that's a good point. Yeah.
So we had an interesting spectrum, but Francisco brings a lot of versatility, athleticism to the table, and we're excited about him being physical up here and being a physical presence for us in the future.
Yeah, the family name there, Mauigoa, means a lot to Coug fans. The Cincinnati Bengals center, Freddie Mauigoa, who was starter here forever and a really smart football player. I mean, that was the thing about Freddie as a center and what he was trying to do. He was communicative and he was really bright. You've got yourself a class here that has predominantly – there's only one junior college transfer. It's predominantly freshmen out of high school with some spots open, and then it sounds like – It's a little bit of, Coach Rolovich was pretty vocal about how moving forward the scholarship allocations and waivers and transfer portal a couple years from now will play into this in a big way. 2022 class is even going to be affected by this COVID year in an odd way.
Absolutely. It's definitely a unique year because you're getting all the seniors coming back, the guys that will, and then on top of that, you're bringing in a new class. So, of course, you have to manage that roster, manage the numbers as best as you can. But ultimately, too, we're trying to build for the future. We want to sustain longevity as far as being a good football team in the Pac-12. So for us, bringing in the fresh young kids is going to be a fantastic deal so we can mature them in the weight room. We can develop them, spend more time with them. And, of course, we all know, the longer you spend it in a system, the more you get to know it in and out, right? And so when those kids are in there for about 3 to 4 years, that's when you get a class that's genuated and entrenched in it to where we can go out and compete at a high level. They can adjust faster and things like that. But, going with a lot of high school kids was something that we did focus on this year just to get that youth there and help develop that class. Because, for us, we want to be able to develop them for a while. When it's time for them to take over, they're ready to take over. Hopefully it's sooner than later. Mm-hmm. We would love them all to come in and start right now. But, it's definitely some of these kids are going to take time. But it's to seeing that development, their work ethic. And all these kids, I can't stress enough about the quality of young men that they are. These kids are awesome young men to talk to on the phone. We have definitely some good personalities that you guys will get to know pretty soon here as well. But having young men that want to come in and believe in what we want to set in the foundation is basically what's going to own that locker room in the future. And so those are the guys that we're happy about.
Love it. Thanks.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Appreciate that, Coach.
Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say, as an alum and somebody obviously still very connected with the program, and who also works with athletes that are looking for opportunities at the next level, to hear the idea of development, hear the idea of community and family and wanting to find good people. I think Washington State fans are going to be really excited about that. I think the fact that that's such a core tenet of, your philosophy and Coach Rolo's philosophy and the whole staff, means good things for Washington State football. So we appreciate that.
No problem. It's unique, when you have a good football team. We all know the years that we went on great runs, and it's been a team that's just all stuck together and they bonded together tight. And they play for one another, because it comes those hard times. I tell them all the time, it comes to times where, as coaches, they might not like us every day, but when they're playing for their teammates and they love each other and they want to go out there and compete together, that's a hard team to beat. And with these young men, it's been unique because they've been able to build a genuine relationship during COVID as well. They've been in text messaging, they've been in all those type of things that's been happening. So when we got them all on the Zoom call, it was pretty fantastic to see their personalities gel together and they're making jokes with each other and things like that. And like you mentioned, Alex, having development is one of the biggest things that we want to make sure that we continue to grow and mature in this program. Because, in a couple of years, we hope that a couple of these kids come, how did you get that kid? Well, he developed and he was a hardworking kid. He had a chip on his shoulder and he had a lot of proof. And that's what we're all about here, And so we're excited to go out there and compete with these young men. They bring a lot to the table. We took care of the home state a little bit as well, bringing some kids from the state as well, which is big for us. Want to make sure we put an emphasis on that as well.
I'm just bummed out also super selfishly. Signing day is usually Brinker and my opportunity to see you guys. That's the last time I think we saw you in person without a Zoom and a mask, and the whole deal was like a year ago today, give or take.
It's definitely unique, and that's where, hey, I would love to be around, piling it up with everybody, having a great time, but it's definitely unique times and we're following safety protocols, we're all going to follow the rules. But I can't wait. I can't wait till it gets back to normal. When we got the fans back in the stands and everything, it's been a unique experience for these young men this year. And it's been a unique experience for pretty much everyone. I mean, we've all adjusted, as ourselves. So we're excited about what the future brings. I can't wait to see you again, though, without the mask,
Appreciate that. Thank you, Coach. Thank you for your time. Really appreciate it. And I know you're super busy, and you guys are all real nonchalant about this, but we appreciate taking 15, 20 minutes of your time. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you guys for your time.
Absolutely. That's John Richardson, recruiting coordinator, cornerbacks coach here for the Cougs as we continue signing day 2020. A busy day here on the Palouse. We've got ourselves practice coming up here. The Cougars are getting ready to go to Salt Lake City, and now the majority of this early signing class is in. As the Cougs have, we've talked to, let's see, Nick Rolovich, we've talked to Jake Dickert, and we'll talk to our wide receivers coach Andre Allen here as he's walking in. We are live here, Coach, on the air, and we've got ourselves the QB Alex Brink and yours truly, Matt Chazanow, here with you, Coach. Thanks for coming on and taking the time. Wide receivers coach here for the Cougs. You've got yourself a whole bounty of talent that's coming in here on the Palouse. You must be an excited coach.
Oh yeah, no, it's always nice getting new toys in and and very talented ones. So I'm excited about this group.
This is predominantly a true freshman class. The one junior college transfer is C.J. Moore from Iowa Central Community College, and he's originally from Oklahoma. He went to Oklahoma State to start his college career. He's transferred here to the Palouse. But when junior college transfers come over, one of the things that kind of goes hand in hand with that later in the process is they're ready to go. He's kind of the one guy that you're getting in the whole class who's a junior. How do you feel about him at 6'5", 175?
I'm excited about CJ. The first time I saw his film, and especially going through the things we were going through early and late in the spring, with the transferring of
Tay Martin over to Stillwater. Yeah.
When Tay Martin left, which was, it was disappointing, but, we didn't think we were going to have a season. We didn't know where we were going. He's a guy that, is hoping to play at the next level and, made a decision that he thought was best for him. But when I saw CJ on film, I looked at a lot of guys, and you'd be surprised how many emails I get every day on, receivers at every level, high school and JUCO that want you to watch their film. But first time I looked at CJ's film, it was like, I think I found the guy to replace Tay Martin, and the great thing about him is, he's only a sophomore, and he still has 3 years to play. And where he's at athletically and his maturity, I think, there's some good things to come, with that kid.
Yeah, and he's 6'4", 6'5", but he can run. I mean, he's got that kind of long gait, and he can get out and go. I mean, I think there's a lot. I'm sure for you, there's a ton to like, and can kind of build that start building that outside receiver group after, like you said, guys like Tay and Rod Fisher, and you had some turnovers. So, one of the guys that jumped off film and me and, Jason talked a little bit about was Josh Meredith, a guy that kind of body type wise, trying to figure out where he was at, but boy, he's explosive and looks like maybe he could go inside or outside. What are your thoughts on Josh?
Oh, well, his versatility, the one thing that I love about Josh is his suddenness. He has that ability once he gets the ball in his hands to make that first guy miss. He's real twitchy, and like you said, explosive, after the catch, and with his size, he would be a great size slot, a bigger slot than we have. And he does have the ability and the size to play outside as well. So his versatility is upside as a true freshman. I'm excited to see, how he develops and grows into that position.
Orion's a slot guy, right? Orion Peters, 5'10", 170 from Los Angeles. He's probably straight slot guy.
Yes, he is. He's a straight slot guy. In high school, he did play outside. He has the long speed to play outside, but we do project him inside at the slot position. I think he kind of fits in that same category with the Renard Bell and Travell Harris because of speed and quickness, but usually, the bottom line is you want to find your best four and you plug them in where, you could get your best guys on the field. And if he turns out to be one of the best guys and he has to play outside, then that's where he would be.
Love a football family, right? You know when a kid comes in and his family's played football, this goes way back for Orion Peters. Great-grandfather played at UCLA. Grandfather played at Colorado State. Multi-generational going back a good amount of time there. That is a football family and a Los Angeles-based one with the old UCLA heritage there.
Yeah, no, and the one thing about Orion, being a high school kid, and I'd say that for all these kids is, they seem older than what they are, and probably, with his family, a big football family, him growing up and probably hearing the stories and seeing his family members play, his approach to everything. When you talk to him on the phone, you would think you're talking to a sophomore, junior in college. Orion's, he's an intelligent kid. He loves football. He's passionate about the work that comes along with it. I'm just excited about him as an individual, as a person, and I know he's going to develop to be a great player for us in this program.
I mean, just because we want to make sure we touch on everybody from your thoughts, the last one's Deshaun Stribling from the island. It sounds like, the guys from Hawaii obviously had a relationship with him initially from camp and that sort of thing. But, I mean, another big guy, 6'2", 195 pounds, really attacks the football in the air. What is your take on him and how he fits in your guys' room?
Well, I think Strib, the first time I met Strib was in our camp. And I had a chance to see him play live, at Capilay High School. And his size, for when I first seen him in camp, a lot of young, bigger guys with that body type, sometimes they're just a little awkward because they haven't grown into that body. But Strib is a lot different. He has real good body control. I think for his size, he has good short area quickness. He is explosive off the ground, the high point balls. But I mean, when we saw him in camp, I was so impressed with him because I didn't expect to see what I saw in this kid. And with him being, a year from high school and coming in this spring, I expect Stribling to come in and attack this thing the right way and be a freshman that competes and pushes these guys. Once we get the spring ball.
Love a 6'2" wide receiver that's also competed in high jump, right? I mean, he's a basketball player and he's an outside wide receiver who's gone track, basketball, and football. So, I know Brinker always talks about how that he loves kids who play multiple sports and how it gives you a break, but also keeps you active. But high jump specifically for an outside wide receiver feels like that's something you love to see.
Oh, you do. You want to see guys that are explosive, especially tall guys. It's nothing more annoying to a receiver coach when you have a guy that's with length and he's jumping in body catching balls. I expect Stribling to be one of those guys to win those 50-50 ball matchups. And, his athleticism proves that he has the ability to do that.
I really don't want to ever take an opportunity to talk to you because I don't get to talk to you that often, Coach. I mean, there's been COVID and I haven't seen you very often. Can we go back to another Coach Rolovich playing story at City College of San Francisco? Like, give me a good Coach Rolo City College story before we cut you loose here on signing day.
Oh, shoot, man. Too
many to count, Jazz. See?
I'll tell you
Put
what,
him on the spot.
Coach Rolo's, during his career, like Chabot College was a good team, his 2 years when he was a starter for us at City. And I remember his sophomore year and we played Chabot at Chabot. And I remember at halftime, I believe we were down by about 21 points or somewhere close to that. And we came out the second half and if you know Rolo, how competitive he is and just in general, as a head coach, imagine, him and you got to think Rolo's from Marin County, all the guys on the team, in that city during that time, and Rolo will be the first to tell you, it's a lot of African-American players on that team that are from inner cities, from all over Florida, LA, wherever. But they loved and rallied behind Coach Rolo. And I remember in the second half of that game, our defense was playing well. We're coming, we're moving the ball on offense. And right at the siren at the end of the third quarter, he hits Jerry Dorsey on the middle screen. And Jerry goes down, cuts it across the field, goes down the sideline for about a 60-yard touchdown. And from there on, it was like everything he said, the rest of that team believed in. And he hit I remember him hitting Natras Brooks for a touchdown on a sprint out, on the run. I mean, he threw I think he probably threw the best of a lot of quarterbacks we had on the run, sprinting out. But we came back and won that game. And it was I mean, the environment and the atmosphere was something else. And I remember it was a brawl after the game, and all the players made sure that Rolo was surrounded. That nobody, and he'll tell you that, it was a wild scene because they thought they had us, and they didn't, because of that man right there. And the players believed in him, but they made sure that no matter what was going on, nobody was going to get to him, and he'll tell you that. Those players loved him.
I love it. That's so fun. Hey, thank you for this time, and thanks for the trip down memory lane, and congrats on the class, and, good luck this Saturday, because this is a morning kick coming up in Salt Lake City. You got a busy Wednesday here.
Yeah, we do. We got practice here shortly, and our guys are excited to play. I'm crossing my fingers and praying that, we keep up the good work and our players keep testing negative, and I'm hoping Utah does the same, so we get a chance to end the season on a good note before the kids go home to see their families.
Thank you, Coach. Thanks for the time. We'll cut you loose. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
You.
Absolutely. That's wide receivers coach Andre Allen here for the Cougs. We'll take our final break and put a bow on it next as Washington State's signing day 2020 for the 2021 class is well underway now. We'll kind of recap the class and put a bow on it next. Complex and Portland, where the QB Alex Brink is. Matt Chazanow with you, and really pleased to be joined by Jesse Sayamalo, our Director of On-Campus Recruiting. First year here with the Cougs. And Jesse, when you look at this class, what stands out to you when you're talking to Coach Rolovich and Coach Dickert and Coach Richardson as it was all coming together, Jason Severco? You're getting everybody together here. Really, really hard year for you because there is no on-campus recruiting this year in COVID, so it was all Zoom-based. How'd you kind of get it all together, Rob Schlager and everybody working together? How did it really come together for you?
It was a little rocky at the start of it, just because, we're all new to it. It's through a screen and you're talking to kids and you're trying to create that relationship that you're not getting when they're on campus and face-to-face. But by now, we kind of have it down to a T, obviously, and it's kind of routine. But getting to know these kids, at least through the screen, what I've seen is that all of them kind of, what's important to them is kind of what WSU is all about. The family aspect, college atmosphere, small town feel. all of them kind of had said that's why they chose WSU. And so I think with that being said, they're going to be a perfect fit here. So.
There's a lot of talk, Jesse, about obviously building the relationship with the kids and having to do that through Zoom. But another big piece of it is building relationships with the families, right? Mom and dad and the brothers and sisters, and because they all play a role in this process as well. How did that go? Because I can appreciate how, you show a kid campus and you show them, the trip from the airport and the great facilities and all those sort of things. But as far as mom and dad, how do you build that relationship through the screen and in a year like this?
I mean, pretty much the same, when there was a mom or dad on the visit, sometimes it would just be the kid and, we just kind of had to roll with it. But basically trying to show them as much as we can. We recorded, a lot of visits so the parents could see it later. We'd send them basically presentations that were shown, get as much information to them. And I think especially with the moms being on and seeing me kind of like another, a female on staff, I think that's always a good thing. But still, just trying to answer as many questions as they can, just because, yes, they are seeing videos and presentations, but still wanting to get that real kind of sense of Pullman and what we're all about.
How much do you draw from your time in Corvallis, your familiarity with the Pack, maybe your own recruitment as a volleyball player, and seeing what your brothers went through and the way they made their way to the highest of level of football to try to kind of envision what you want recruits to see of Washington State, how you put all that together?
Well, growing up in Corvallis, I'm used to the small town, college town feel. I always thought that was special. So coming here, this was, I'm very familiar with that. Don't want to say that, I like to promote Pullman's better than Corvallis, where I'm at right now. But I think just getting used to that and being around it, and especially seeing my brothers go through that process, and just being familiar when I'm talking with the kid, even on the Zoom that, hey, I've been in your spot, or I've seen my brothers go through what you're going through, kind of can relate, especially with the moms, just because my mom had the same feeling with all of that stuff. And especially when you ask about the parents, all of them just want to make sure their kid is taken care of, their kid will be safe. So we really tried to promote that, especially without them being able to sit on campus.
Does virtual visits live on past 2020? I mean, nothing's going to replace on campus, but I mean, is it going to be a part of the package? Do you think you guys will kind of keep doing it? Especially like you said, now you got a good rhythm, you got all the stuff put together.
I hope it's not, but I'm hoping by at least next fall, kind of with season, that we'll kind of get back to normal. But yeah, it's nice that we kind of have things down to a T. Now we can kind of go back to the drawing board and think of more ideas. Can we revamp this? Can we change these videos? What can we do differently, kind of thing. So I'm hoping it goes back to normal, but now I feel like we'll kind of go back and see what can we do better with the virtual visits.
I guess it's kind of tough to be the director of on-campus recruiting when nobody can be on campus. So I can appreciate that sentiment for sure.
Yeah, if anybody was flexible this year, it was Jesse Sayamalo, figuring out how to be an on-campus recruiter with COVID, and really, I keep going back to the uniqueness of this year, and how you must have all had to lay out the blueprint of the program as everybody is envisioning it, and fit this into a brand new puzzle. This is like a brand new plan, because you've got. Historically, you have 85 scholarships. That changes for the first time in however long this year, right? Now, because the seniors can come back. That ends, allegedly, for now, after that. And then you had to fit all of this together while thinking about, well, let's also forget it and just get the best guys that we can get. And let's get the best guys on the field. That's really hard to do. By the way, you got a game on Saturday while you're doing this, too. So that is way easier said than done.
Yeah. So it's been definitely new and different. I think the biggest challenge is that I've noticed with being on campus versus these virtual visits, is on campus visits. If things go wrong, you can easily wing it and kind of go with the flow, and, people are running late kind of thing. That's pretty easy for me to do. But on these Zoom calls, you can't control technical difficulties. You can't control, electricity going out, losing Wi-Fi, people being late on the call. And I think also playing into that, you kind of question is, are we going too long? Are we going too short? Are the kids bored? Are we showing too much kind of thing? So it was definitely a challenge, but definitely right now, I think we kind of got the hang of it.
I'm going to backpedal a little bit also, and I was a little bit presumptuous because I know your bio and I know your family's bio, and you played volleyball for Oregon State. Both of your brothers played football at Oregon State. Your father coached D-line at Oregon State. Isaac, one of your brothers, was an NFL draft pick for the Eagles, where he's an offensive lineman in the NFL. You go home now with that crimson on. What's that like? You're back home now. You got that other color from the Pac-12. There's a little bit of it's a house divided now.
Yeah, it's been a little different. And before coming here, being at Utah, that was also different. And but I think we're kind of used to it by now. With my dad, being a coach's kid, we're used to moving around, cheering on different schools and stuff like that. So yeah.
Well, we're happy to have you as a part of the Coug family now.
Thank you.
Yes, welcome, 100%. And although it's all been too distant here to start. That's the only downside with this 2020. Hey,
I do have to say, I have been here for a home game one time, but I was with the other team, and all I remember is it was so loud, and just like the stadium was rocking, and I was so excited for that. And so with COVID happening, obviously it's kind of a bummer, but definitely looking forward to when Martin Stadium can be rocking again.
Oh, I mean, the best part of this before 2020 is fans and full stadiums and game day atmospheres and all that comes along with coming back to the alma mater or coming back to the school you love and tailgating, and that is the heart of all of this. It's the pulse of it. So when it comes back, it's going to be just a festival of America in college football. I can't wait. Thank you for this time, Jesse. Really appreciate it. And we've actually only got 60 seconds left in the whole show. We're going to do a quick recap of the class. We've got recruits from Nevada, Georgia, Albuquerque, New Mexico, 2 in-state in Washington, 2 in Utah, 3 California, 2 Texas, maybe 4 California now, Hawaii, Australia, 2 in the state of Washington, and then 1 junior college from Iowa, all over the map here, and some unconventional places. AB, it's a class everybody's really excited about.
Yeah, they should be. I mean, coaches worked really hard at this. All the entire staff did. You love seeing the depth at the defensive line position. Wide receiver was clearly a place of need, and you get 4 guys that can come in and make an impact. It's close to my heart that you get a quarterback that looks like he can really spin it, but he's got a great athlete too. Again, you talked about how wide the net was thrown to go get athletes. That's a testament to the staff and the relationships they've built across the country. So, I think that's super special. The Washington State brand is strong. Kudos to everybody involved. Jesse, you guys did an incredible job. You guys should be very proud.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, congrats, Jesse. We've got ourselves a little over 60 seconds here in the show. AB, we have, coach's show tomorrow with Coach Rolovich because we've got a game on Saturday. We've got ourselves hoops on Friday, 6 o'clock tip. Washington State takes on Montana State, and then get your coffee and get your eggs all ready nice and early, AB. And Jesse, you too, because you got yourself a morning kick, a 10:30 kick at the Utes.
I can't wait. I mean, again, we're all fingers crossed, right? We're obviously all fingers crossed right now. But I hope that, these kids and coaches get to end the season on a high note and get a chance to strap it up and go play, because I know they're all looking forward to it. Chaz, you and I are looking forward to it, and everybody at home that's going to have their Bloody Marys ready to go, for that 10:30 kickoff.
I know. I can't wait. That's the real heartbreak of all this is the get all ready to roll, and now the 3 cancellations that we've had, and the morale and all that comes along with that is tough. It really is tough. It's been a really hard year. Thank you, Jesse. Thanks to everybody who came on the show. To you, AB. We've got 60 seconds in my ear here, and to Jerry Kylo, who's our producer and engineer, and Jared Prenghuber, who gets the video stream all set up, and everybody who helped make signing day happen. Really, really excited to welcome all these new Cougs in. And our next broadcast tomorrow, we'll talk to Coach Rolovich at 6 o'clock here from the Martin Stadium press box. Go Cougs, guys. Thank you, Jesse. Thanks, AB.